Neutrons don't care about your classical intuition. They laugh at your simplistic assumptions about stacking matter like children's building blocks. Let's deconstruct why. Imagine you're thinking about neutrons as if they were billiard balls, discrete, solid objects you can just pile up one after another. Stop. That's your first mistake. In the quantum realm, neutrons are not objects. They're information states, probability waves dancing at the edge of comprehension. Why can't you stack neutrons forever? It's not about physical space. It's about fundamental quantum constraints that tear apart your naive understanding of matter. Each neutron isn't just a particle. It's a complex quantum system governed by principles that make your classical physics look like a child's crayon drawing. Take a free neutron, unstable, radioactive. Outside an atomic nucleus, it decays in about 15 minutes. But that's just the surface. The real story is how quantum mechanics fundamentally limits what you think is possible. Neutron degeneracy isn't a technical detail. It's a profound statement about the nature of matter itself. Quantum mechanics doesn't just modify our understanding, it obliterates it. When you try to stack neutrons, you're not just adding objects. You're creating a quantum system where each neutron's wave function interferes, potentially collapses. The Pauli exclusion principle isn't a rule. It's a fundamental constraint that emerges from the deepest structure of reality. Consider neutron stars, celestial objects where quantum mechanics becomes macroscopically visible. These aren't just dense collections of neutrons. They're quantum systems so extreme that classical physics shatters like cheap glass. Neutron degeneracy pressure isn't a passive resistance. It's an active quantum mechanism preventing complete gravitational collapse. What prevents infinite neutron stacking isn't some mundane physical barrier. It's the fundamental quantum logic that says information cannot be arbitrarily compressed. Each additional neutron doesn't just add mass. It adds complexity, entropy, quantum uncertainty that fundamentally reshapes the entire system. Your intuition tells you matter is solid, stackable. Quantum mechanics reveals matter as a delicate, dynamic dance of probabilities. Neutrons aren't objects you accumulate. They're quantum states that interact, interfere, transform. The moment you think you understand them, they slip through your conceptual fingers. This isn't about limitations. This is about understanding that reality is fundamentally different from what your classical brain imagines. Neutrons expose the quantum weirdness lurking beneath every seemingly solid surface. They're not just particles. They're information processors revealing the deep structure of existence. Dive deeper, and you'll see the quantum information landscape becomes even more treacherous. When you compress neutrons, you're not just moving physical objects. You're manipulating probability distributions, quantum states that resist classical description. The more tightly you try to constrain these neutrons, the more violently they resist your simplistic understanding. The quantum mechanical wave function isn't a physical thing you can touch. It's a mathematical description of potential, a complex, multidimensional representation of all possible states. Each neutron carries its own wave function, a probabilistic fingerprint that changes the moment you attempt to observe or constrain it. Neutron interactions aren't sequential. They're simultaneous, entangled, a web of quantum correlations that demolish your notion of discrete, independent particles. You're not stacking objects. You're creating a dynamic quantum system where information flows in ways that defy classical logic. Pause for a moment. Feel your classical understanding crumbling. This is quantum revelation, not a description, but a deconstruction of reality itself. If this challenged how you see matter, follow the channel and tell me what you think. The quantum landscape of neutrons is a battlefield where information, probability, and fundamental physical constraints wage a relentless war against your naive intuitions. What you perceive as a simple particle is actually a complex quantum system that defies every classical expectation. Consider the neutron's internal structure. It's not a solid object. It's a quantum tornado of quarks, up, down, down, bound by gluons in a dance so intricate that calling it a particle is like describing a hurricane as a collection of water droplets. You're missing the entire point. Quantum chromodynamics isn't just a theory. It's a fundamental revelation of how matter actually behaves at its most fundamental level. The strong nuclear force isn't a simple attraction. It's an information processing mechanism that maintains quantum coherence, a dynamic system that continuously negotiates the boundaries of existence. Right when you attempt to stack neutrons, you're not just piling up objects. You're creating a quantum many-body problem of staggering complexity. Each neutron carries quantum numbers, isospin, spin, color charge that interact in ways your classical brain cannot comprehend. The moment you try to compress them, they resist not with physical force, but with quantum information dynamics. Neutron degeneracy pressure isn't a passive resistance. It's an active quantum mechanism that emerges from the Pauli exclusion principle, a fundamental symmetry of nature that says no two identical fermions can occupy the same quantum state simultaneously. This isn't a limitation. This is a profound mathematical truth about the structure of reality. Imagine trying to force neutrons into progressively smaller spaces. Classical physics would suggest a simple compression. Quantum mechanics reveals a catastrophic breakdown of your understanding. As you compress neutrons, their wave functions begin to overlap, creating quantum interference patterns that fundamentally alter the system's behavior. The quantum uncertainty principle isn't just a mathematical curiosity, it's a fundamental constraint on information. The more precisely you try to define a neutron's position, the more fundamentally uncertain its momentum becomes. This isn't a measurement problem. This is a deep statement about the nature of quantum reality. Neutron stars provide the most extreme laboratory for understanding these quantum constraints. These are not simply dense collections of neutrons. They are quantum systems so extreme that classical physics becomes meaningless. Neutron degeneracy pressure is the quantum mechanism that prevents complete gravitational collapse, a delicate balance of quantum information and gravitational force. But here's the truly radical insight. Neutrons are not isolated objects. They are quantum information processors embedded in a complex quantum network. Each neutron carries quantum correlations that extend far beyond its apparent physical boundaries. Your classical notion of a discrete particle is a laughable simplification. The quantum state of a system of neutrons isn't the sum of individual neutron states. It's a complex, entangled quantum state that cannot be decomposed into individual components. This is quantum holism, where the whole is fundamentally different from the sum of its parts. Entropy isn't just a measure of disorder. In the quantum realm of neutrons, notice a fundamental constraint on information compression. Each additional neutron doesn't just add mass. It adds quantum complexity, increases information entropy, and fundamentally reshapes the entire quantum system. Consider quantum tunneling, a phenomenon that would destroy your classical understanding of neutron behavior. Neutrons don't simply respect classical energy barriers. They can probabilistically pass through seemingly impenetrable boundaries, a quantum magic trick that reveals the fundamental weirdness of reality. The more tightly you try to constrain neutrons, the more violently quantum mechanics pushes back. It's not a gentle resistance. It's a fundamental restructuring of your understanding of matter, energy, and information. Neutrons expose the quantum weirdness that lurks beneath every seemingly solid surface. Quantum mechanics isn't just a description of the subatomic world. It's a profound revelation of how reality actually constructs itself. A continuous process of information negotiation that renders your classical intuitions obsolete. Pause. Feel your understanding of matter dissolving. This is quantum revelation, a deconstruction of reality itself. If this challenged how you see the fundamental nature of matter, follow the channel and tell me what you think. Your understanding of neutrons is about to collapse completely. What you perceive as a stable, discrete entity is actually a quantum symphony of incomprehensible complexity. Neutrons aren't objects. They're information processing systems that challenge every fundamental assumption you hold about physical reality. Let's dissect the quantum landscape of neutrons at a level that will make your classical intuition scream in surrender. Inside each neutron lies a quantum maelstrom of quarks, not solid particles, but probability waves dancing at the edge of comprehensibility. The up and down quarks aren't just components. They're quantum information states that continuously negotiate their existence. The strong nuclear force isn't a simple attractive mechanism. It's a sophisticated quantum information network that maintains coherence at scales that demolish your understanding of physical interaction. Quantum chromodynamics reveals a world where particles aren't things, but dynamic information processes. Consider the neutron's quantum identity. It's not a static object. It's a continuously negotiated quantum state that exists in a probabilistic realm beyond your classical imagination. The moment you try to pin down its precise characteristics, the neutron slips through your conceptual fingers like quantum smoke. Quantum entanglement transforms your understanding of neutrons from isolated objects to interconnected information processors. When neutrons interact, they create quantum correlations that extend beyond classical spatial boundaries. Two neutrons can become so deeply linked that describing one requires a complete description of both, a quantum connection that defies every classical notion of locality. The quantum no-hiding theorem becomes brutally relevant. Information is never truly lost in a system of neutrons. It's transformed, redistributed, and tangled, but never destroyed. Each quantum interaction is an information-preserving dance that reveals the deep structure of reality. Neutron decay isn't a simple breakdown. It's a quantum information transformation of staggering complexity. A free neutron doesn't simply fall apart. It undergoes a quantum process of beta decay that reveals the fundamental quantum logic governing particle interactions. The transformation of a neutron into a proton, electron, and antineutrino is a quantum information transfer that challenges every classical understanding of the physical change. Quantum field theory exposes neutrons as excitations of underlying quantum fields, not discrete objects, but dynamic waves of potential emerging from the fundamental fabric of reality. Your intuition screams for solid objects, but quantum mechanics reveals a world of continuous, probabilistic information flow. The quantum uncertainty principle isn't a limitation. It's a fundamental constraint that reveals the true nature of neutron existence. The more precisely you attempt to measure a neutron's position, the more fundamentally uncertain its momentum becomes. This isn't a measurement problem. This is a deep statement about the nature of quantum reality itself. Imagine neutrons in extreme conditions inside neutron stars where quantum mechanics becomes macroscopically visible. These aren't simply dense collections of particles. They are quantum systems so extreme that classical physics becomes meaningless. Neutron degeneracy pressure is a quantum information mechanism that prevents complete gravitational collapse, a delicate balance of quantum constraints that maintains stellar structures. Quantum tunneling demolishes your classical understanding of neutron behavior. Neutrons can probabilistically pass through seemingly impenetrable barriers, a quantum magic trick that reveals the fundamental weirdness of reality. They're not bound by classical energy constraints. They negotiate existence through probability waves that extend beyond classical spatial limitations. The quantum state of a neutron system isn't the sum of individual neutron states. It's a complex, entangled quantum state that cannot be decomposed into individual components. This is quantum holism, where the whole is fundamentally different from the sum of its parts. Each neutron carries quantum correlations that extend far beyond its apparent physical boundaries. Entropy isn't just a measure of disorder in the quantum realm of neutrons. It's a fundamental constraint on information compression. Each additional neutron doesn't just add mass, it adds quantum complexity, increases information entropy, and fundamentally reshapes the entire quantum system. Quantum mechanics reveals neutrons as information processors embedded in a complex quantum network. They're not isolated objects. They're dynamic quantum states, continuously negotiating their existence through intricate information exchanges that render your classical understanding obsolete. The universe doesn't care about your comfortable classical assumptions. Neutrons expose a quantum reality that is far more bizarre, more beautiful, and more fundamentally interconnected than your limited intuition can comprehend. Pause. Feel your understanding of matter dissolving. This is quantum revelation, a deconstruction of reality itself. If this challenged how you see the fundamental nature of existence, follow the channel and tell me what you think. Neutrons are not the end of the story. They are a gateway to a fundamental reimagining of reality itself. What you've learned so far is merely the surface, a thin membrane concealing the most profound quantum revelations about the nature of existence. The quantum world of neutrons is a radical information processing system that makes your classical physics look like a child's crayon sketch. Every assumption you hold is about to be systematically dismantled. Neutrons are not particles. They are dynamic quantum information states that continuously negotiate the boundaries of existence. Consider the quantum vacuum, not an empty space, but a seething quantum foam of potential and probability. Neutrons emerge from this quantum background, not as discrete objects, but as fluctuating information patterns. Virtual particles pop in and out of existence, creating a quantum landscape so complex that your classical intuition becomes meaningless. Quantum field theory reveals the neutrons as excitations of fundamental quantum fields, waves of potential that extend across spacetime. The boundary between a neutron and its surrounding quantum environment is not a fixed line. It's a dynamic, probabilistic negotiation of quantum information. The holographic principle becomes brutally relevant. Information is not contained within a neutron. It is distributed across its quantum state, across its interactions, across the entire quantum network of reality. A single neutron carries quantum correlations that extend far beyond its apparent physical boundaries, challenging every notion of locality and discrete existence. Quantum entanglement transforms neutrons from isolated objects to interconnected information processors. When neutrons interact, they create quantum correlations that defy classical understanding. Two neutrons can become so deeply linked that describing one requires a complete description of the entire quantum system, a connection that extends beyond space and time. The no-hiding theorem becomes a fundamental principle. Information is never truly lost in a system of neutrons. It's transformed, redistributed, entangled, but never destroyed. Each quantum interaction is an information-preserving dance that reveals the deep structure of reality. Neutron stars provide the most extreme quantum laboratory imaginable. These are not simply dense collections of neutrons. They are quantum systems so extreme that classical physics becomes a laughable approximation. Neutron degeneracy pressure is a quantum information mechanism that prevents complete gravitational collapse, a delicate balance of quantum constraints that maintains stellar structures. Quantum tunneling exposes the fundamental weirdness of neutron behavior. They can probabilistically pass through seemingly impenetrable barriers, a quantum magic trick that reveals reality's true nature. Neutrons negotiate existence through probability waves that extend beyond classical spatial and temporal limitations. The quantum uncertainty principle is not a limitation. It is a fundamental constraint that reveals the true nature of neutron existence. The more precisely you attempt to measure a neutron's position, the more fundamentally uncertain its momentum becomes. This is not a measurement problem. This is a deep statement about the nature of quantum reality itself. Entropy in the quantum realm of neutrons is not just a measure of disorder. It is a fundamental constraint on information compression. Each additional neutron doesn't just add mass. It adds quantum complexity, increases information entropy, and fundamentally reshapes the entire quantum system. Quantum mechanics reveals neutrons as sophisticated information processors embedded in a complex quantum network. They are dynamic quantum states continuously negotiating their existence through intricate information exchanges that render your classical understanding not just incomplete, but fundamentally wrong. The universe is a quantum information system. Neutrons are not the objects you imagine. They are dynamic information states that continuously reconstruct reality. Every interaction, every measurement, every moment is a quantum negotiation of potential and probability. Your classical intuition is a crude approximation, a simplistic model that fails to capture the true nature of reality. Neutrons expose a quantum world that is far more bizarre, more beautiful, and more fundamentally interconnected than your limited perception can comprehend. The boundary between neutrons and their environment is not a fixed line. It is a dynamic, a probabilistic negotiation of quantum information. Reality is not what you see. Reality is what emerges from continuous quantum information processing. This is not theoretical abstraction. This is a fundamental reimagining of existence itself. Neutrons are not things. They are quantum information processors that continuously construct and reconstruct the fabric of reality. Pause. Feel your understanding of matter, space, and time dissolving. This is quantum revelation, a complete deconstruction of reality. If this challenged everything you thought you knew about existence, follow the channel and tell me what you think.